the questions are very important, because when you're going to embark on your career with ambition of going to the world's, you can say, largest platform for films, which will really propel your career, you need to be prepared. And when does the preparation really start for this? So I will actually begin with a bit of a background. It would be really important to know, why is Cannes the festival, that why does it have the position of being one of the most important and festivals in the world, that the whole, you can see the entire film festival ecosystem is, hinges on the selection that happens in May. Of course, not to say that there aren't other European festivals which have the calendar, which are marked on the calendar, like Berlin, Cannes, Venice. But what is it that makes Cannes different from, say, a Berlin or a Venice as a festival?
But first, I think what makes it different, and people tend to forget it, Cannes in the world is the only film festival which is a professional film festival, meaning we don't sell tickets. We don't have a general audience, it's a professional audience with 5,000 journalists, which makes it the most covered event yearly. Of course, we are beaten by the Olympics or the World Cup, but that's come once every 4 years. That's the main thing, because it's the only festival in the world that doesn't rely on ticket sales. So it's the idea of presenting to the professional, to the world, what we think is, I don't like to say the best, but what is the most interesting. Why? It's not, our job is not about I like or I don't like a film, it's not a personal choice. The question is, shall we show that film for its creative content, for its meaning, for its message, for its form? So it's really the singularity of Cannes. Then on top of that, because the market grew so big in Cannes that it's both sides of the festival, and it made it probably the most covered and important festival.
Okay. So this is an aspect that Christian's touched upon, which is very important and also very new to all of us, that what exactly is a film market. Because for the festivals that we have in India, and especially Mami, we are such an audience festival and we focus on the audience experience. So Christian, how does the Cannes market and the festival actually integrate with each other? I know it's a whole thesis, but if you can give us an idea.
It was planned and not planned. It's a balance. It's like if you look at the festival in many countries, the TV is only interested in the red carpet, and then you have this impression that Cannes is just only the red carpet and the glamour. But it has always been a balance. Red carpet and the attraction that it draws from the press and from the audience also allows us to put in competition films which all of a sudden are highlighted like nowhere else. And then you have like a Palme d'Or for a Romanian film or for a Thai film, and it's a very, it's a balance. And of course the red carpet, you have to feed the red carpet, as we say, with blockbuster, with stars, but so it works already like that. There is also already from the beginning, and then the market comes, meaning because the red carpet, because the press, because the producer, because all of that, then you have the market who can expand. First it's in May, it's in Cannes, it's pleasant, and it's where people are happy to make deals and everybody's coming. So for us, when the market is, the selection and competition can go very well, and the red carpet goes very well. It doesn't affect if the market is a bit slow, but it's not good. So both are working together. We're not working together, but we are complementary.
Yeah, and also, since this idea of bringing your film to Cannes and having the red carpet and having the market is something that a filmmaker should, aim for to make sure that the film gets visible. What would you advise a filmmaker who has their first film at Cannes and say you're coming from India and you've just given a submission and you get the news that you're going to premiere at Cannes? How should a filmmaker prepare for the Cannes experience? Like, who should they bring along with them? And
well, you know, it's a good question, because when nowadays, of course, as soon as the selection is announced, if you by chance you don't have a sales agent or distributor, very quickly you get it. So we are professional and they will help you to go around the festival. But also, I must say, every country has some kind of film commission, and that's their role to help, like to highlight the films which are selected. Not all of them are doing that. So, and that's a bit of a shame, because of course a film was selected in Cannes is important for the culture in the country that it represents. So what you should, I mean, the film, once it's selected, will get like a platform like nowhere else. So then the film will defend it itself. You know, you never know what's going to happen. And I always say, when it works well, it works like nowhere else in the world. But when it doesn't work well, if it's polemical, that works also, because then you have like so many journalists that it creates. What is tricky is when the film gets a bit unnoticed, goes under the radar. That's quite cruel. That can be cruel. I've seen first-time filmmakers who are selected in Cannes, even in competition, and then they disappear because the film didn't do so well. So I always say to filmmakers, first, you don't make a film for thinking of a festival.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always probably in the back of the mind of people, but either you have something to say, you're carrying a story, you're carrying an obsession, you're carrying a pain or whatever, or you don't. And so that the success will come from the beginning. It will be. You don't have to just aim at Cannes. I mean, it's better to get an award in a very good festival like Carnivary, Locarno, and so many other all over the world, than to get unnoticed in Cannes, that's for sure. But again, when it works like nowhere else. Like, look at Asmael, a film which was premiere in Un Certain Regard and got great attention, and I think it's fantastic when it works like that.
well, that's very important advice, Christian, because you know it's almost like people feel if they don't get into filmmakers, if they don't get into Cannes, then what are the chances of getting into other festivals, and will we be able to travel? So I think this advice that you give them, that sometimes even films in Cannes can go unnoticed, and it does take effort from the part of the producers and from the filmmakers to really make the visibility possible for their own film, because you can't really predict, right?
No,
how
you
the
can
film
predict.
is going to.
And what I'm saying it's cruel is because if you get selected, of course, all of a sudden you have attention from producers, sales agents from all over the world, from your own country. Then you kind of like until the film is shown, you're like kind of a star. But if the film goes flat, then all of a sudden all those people will disappear, you know, and that's what I call cruel, because that's really unfair first, and where is the sincerity from the beginning, you know. So.
Also, there's another question that keeps coming up, you know, about the sections in Cannes. Like, what is the difference between a main competition in terms of its programming, and of course we call it uncertain regard, but it is the nuance a certain regard. So, you know, what does a certain regard mean or stand for? And the other newer sections like Cannes Premiere, non-competition, and also if you could let us know that, is it really sad to be in a non-competition section, or should we only aim for competition? What is the kind of advice?
You know, it's again, it's a very, it looks like solid. It's a very fragile world also. So competition, because of the press presence, because of the attention that the films are drawing, you show what are for us. We want to show what are the most striking, the most innovative, the most creative films that can also be exposed, because it's a lot of, it's a pressure. It's a big pressure to be in competition. And wherever, when you are in a certain regard or Directors for Night or Critics Week, which are independent section in Cannes, the films don't have this pressure. So they're much more like appreciated for what they are. not saying that in competition we're not, but you know, I always say you have like in Cannes, you have 5,000 journalists with some of them with a machine gun ready to shoot. You know, it's like, because that's also the game of some of the press. You don't have that in our section. So when we say to some films, of course you never know. You know, like, we don't know what is going to. It's not a question of being wrong or right. It's a question to be sure that the film will be seen properly and get the right attention. So when a film, sometimes we say to the directors, this film is for a certain regard because it will be protected from this big pressure and could be destroyed in competition, you know. So when it goes well where it is, we're very happy, you know. And some people say when a film goes very well in certain regard, and people say, why did you put in competition? But you never know what would have happened in competition. So you have just to be happy for when it goes well. And that's, our role is to, you know, we select films not to put them in the lion dens. It's to protect them, to be sure the film, we would be happy to see the 60 films being successful because we selected them for that reason. Yeah, you were saying Cannes is exclusive, I would say Cannes is more selective. It's, that's, you know, at the end of the day, we only select in official selection, which means competition, a certain regard, out of competition, 63 films, 63 features on 2,000 submitted. So it's not a lot. And we keep that number, except after COVID, where there was an explosion because people for 3 years had, like, as we say, films on their shelf, and we had to help the industry, of course. So it's more selective than exclusive, but it's we all want, we always think of the film first. I mean, of course, we think of the success of the festival, but people think we're polite or diplomat when we say we want to protect the film. No, that's a reality. Yeah.
And I think that's such an important point you make, because as programmers, we all face this. The ambition to be in a main competition or a competition is so hard that people feel offended when they're not in competition without realizing that we are looking at the festival in totality, and the idea of protecting the filmmaker and the filmmakers to trust programmers. Programmers always want the best for your film. They always want your film to get the best opportunity. So whether it is programming, whether it is scheduling, you know, and how we're placing the film is a part of our job as well, to make sure that every filmmaker leaves with the right kind of positioning for the right kind of audience. So thanks for clearing that. And Christiane, another question that we used to get is, you know, when I was working with CANNES for 4 years, and a film used to go to Cannes, official Cannes, and then it never made it to Cannes, and I should always be like, but I submitted to Cannes. Yeah. Why haven't you seen the film? Or I have submitted, why is it in Critics Week? So if you could explain the idea behind sidebars in a festival, but in Cannes especially.
Critics Week is very clear, it's first time and second time filmmaker, so that's very clear. But as well as the Directors for Night, as Critics Week, as certain regard, well, quite often on the same titles, I mean, for 3 or 5 films, but that's a healthy competition, because at the end of the day, you know, for us, for me, at the end, I think it's very important that the 3 sections are strong, because when the festival is over, the film was in Cannes, yes. And it's just the reputation of Cannes it's good for that. And you know, it depends on the selection committee of every, of course, in the official selection, it has a long stability, but then when I say it's not about I like, I don't like, you can have also your personal choices, you know, so every selection bears also the idea of the selection committee. It's as great to be in a certain regard as to be in Directors for Night as to be in Critics Weeks, because you know, some films get great success in Critics Weeks. Again, it's a question of being unnoticed or being successful. So wherever you are and the film works, we have to be happy.
Yes, and also an award like, I mean, this year at MAMI, we are very lucky to have the Palme d'Or screen at the NMACC. I mean, the Grand Theatre, you saw the Grand Theatre yesterday, and it was like, you know, delivering to Mumbai audiences kind of the Cannes experience of watching it in an opera house with 2,000 people, but we also have the Camera d'Or film here, and which is playing. And just to inform everyone, the Camera d'Or is an award that goes across all sections of
Absolutely,
Cannes.
it's the best. There is a jury, and they award what they think is the best first-time director in every section, including the competition. Sometimes when we're first-time director, but they never get it because I think the jury thinks that it's already a success to be in competition. So it's then there is a slight competition between the three sections. I mean, we don't control it, by the way. It's in the hands of the jury. But let's say in certain regard, we had like 7 to 8 first-time director. Critics Suisse is like 5 or 6. And Directors for Next try to sell 7 to 8, 9, it depends every year. So yeah, altogether it's 23, 25 films first time director who are competing for the Camera d'Or, which is a prestigious award, and that many famous filmmakers got.